last door we're going to look at is the Mode 2 door. The one we just looked at, Mode 1, controls whether air is going to come out of the vents or be pushed down into the bottom of the box where it can go to either the floor or the defrost. One other comment, the stamped metal that you see is razor sharp along the edges, so before you do any work, it's probably a good idea to kind of cover those edges with duct tape. And as we get further into the work, you'll see that I did that. Otherwise, you will slice your hands up. So the final motor, we're looking from the driver's side floorboard. The final motor is kind of hidden up in here and is totally behind this metal bracket. So it's virtually impossible to pull that motor out. What that controls is the final stage between floor and defrost vent. And when the door breaks, it will fall down into the bottom of the box and it will tend to block the floorboards. And so the way this is constructed, it has kind of a comb structure in the bottom of the box. So the choice is between 90% to the defrost and 10% to the floor, or when the door moves up, it will be 90% to the floor and 10% to the defrost. So the door doesn't really seal and choose one or the other. It's just the percentage of air that goes one direction or the other. This is a very hard door to get to and hard door to diagnose. If you notice, on the bottom of this is a box, a little vent that distributes air to both sides. This can be removed. It's got 6 screws that go up into the box and then one mount that goes down to the transmission tunnel. You can pull this box off, and when you do, you can feel the bottom of that door and see if it's going up or down. You could also remove the bottom of that and block the door to where you change the percentage a little bit and maybe get half of the air coming out on the floor, half going up to the defrost. We don't recommend that because you always want the fail-safe mode where you're getting defrost, because you need to keep your windshields clear. And we don't want to suggest anything that would compromise the safety of the truck. So if you make a decision like that, you're strictly on your own, not with us. So what we'll do is connect the control panel back up. We'll take a look at this motor, but in general, it's more trouble to fix than it's worth. If you do decide that you want to fix it, you have to get the metal out of the way. And in order to do that, you'll notice that there is one spot weld here, which goes to the overall bracket. And to get this out of the way, to get to the motor, you would need to drill through this spot weld. You would need to use a grinding tool of some description, is what I would suggest, and just make a cut here. And once you do that, then this whole panel can be bent out to the side. And once you bend it out of the way, then you could go in and replace that bottom door. Again, this is going to be your option, but the way the truck is constructed, replacing this final door is extremely difficult. We do have a kit. We will certainly provide the hardware, but this is not one of our generally easy things to go in and do. Certainly possible, but not simple to do. So the next thing we'll do, we've determined on this truck that we need to replace the recirc door and the Mode 1 door, and so the next segments will be devoted to replacing those 2 doors. So we finished diagnosis of the system. We're going to replace the blend door at this point. If you look behind the glove box, you can see the actuator motor. It's kind of on the left side of the door, and right up in the center it's held on again by 2 Phillips screws. And actually there's enough room to get to those fairly easily. They're not hard to pull out and then just pull the motor straight back. To the right of that, you'll see the intake vent, and you'll see a little simple grate that's covering that. And what we're going to do to replace the door is to remove this grate. So the next picture you see, we'll have pulled that out. Okay, so we have cut the grate out of the front of the box, and this is the old recirc door. This piece was cracked and broken off, so it's pretty obvious that this is what the failure was, is the broken axle. The grate that we're pulling off is right up in this area. It's a very wide tooth grate. It's hard to get out in a single piece. And I ended up breaking this one into several pieces. I'm not going to replace that grate. It doesn't really do anything since the stop point for the door is the edges, not the grate itself. So it's not going to have any issue not having it. Certainly if you want to be very, very careful and preserve that grate and glue it back in place, you can, but it's totally out of sight. It has very little function, and I really wouldn't mess with it. So anyway, we got the motor off, we got the door out. We'll go ahead and install the new door and get back to you. So here you can see the old door and the new door. This is the one we pulled out. Notice it's got a little pin that goes into a hole on the back. That's duplicated on the new hardware. And you saw where we broke off the little motor connection here. The way we'll take care of it on the new door is this piece, which inserts into the axle. So we will insert the door into place, come in from outside the box, put the axle in place, and then the motor connector will connect straight up to the motor. Okay, we've now replaced the recirc door, and I'm going to move it back and forth. Hope you can see this on the video, just to prove to you that it actually does work. A couple of other hints. It is a little tricky getting the new door in and getting the motor connected. You also need to be careful that you don't forget to pull out the white plastic axle that was used before. And for me, the easiest way to do that, I just grabbed it underneath the dash with a pair of pliers and yanked it out like a bad tooth. We are not going to replace the grate that was covering this door. You could if you want to, but again, it has very little function. I think it keeps $100 bills from falling out of the glove box and being sucked into the AC, but for most of us that's not a problem. Next thing we're going to do is replace the Mode 2 door on this automobile. So we will, first thing, use the big pair of pliers, pull this axle out, and I'll make the cut pattern. The only tricky part is getting to this one screw that comes up from the bottom, and you have to kind of come up at it underneath and have just the right size screwdriver, but it's not hard to do. I'll show you the pattern in the instructions that come with the kit, and you'll see the cut after we have made it. You'll also notice that I put tape over the exposed edges of the very sharp sheet metal. I learned that lesson the hard way.